welcome everyone to episode 31 of the What Sales and Marketing Got to Do With It podcast. My name is Gemma Adair, founder and principal marketing consultant at Ricoh Consultancy. This podcast aims to delve deep into the minds of sales and marketing industry leaders, uncovering what keeps them up at night, what drives their passion, and how they execute successful strategies in both their personal and professional lives. I'm delighted to welcome Connor Heywood, Global Business Development Manager at Ricoh Europe. Great to have you, Connor.
Thanks, Gemma. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to our discussion.
Perfect. So, without further ado, please introduce who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm responsible for Ricoh's smart locker business development on a global scale. Really looking to generate new partnerships and new business ventures within Ricoh for things such as our services. So we've got globally over 10,000 field engineers that we utilize for smart locker services, sort of end-to-end managed services, really. So that's from the point of doing site surveys to delivering and installing the lockers, even some things like groundworks and electrical works to ensure the lockers can be functioning and connected appropriately, all the way through to maintaining the fleets for our customers. And we're doing that for probably now about 40 to 50,000 lockers globally. A big portfolio for us as well, but also focusing on Ricoh's own smart locker products, which is a hardware and software solution developed by Ricoh for two use cases, really. You've got for IT asset management, which is if you're loaning equipment, for example, very pertinent to the warehouse environment. If you've got expensive assets that you use for shifts, like handheld scanners, for example, a chain of custody solution for that, and also within the office space for sort of IT click and collect. So if you've lost your headset, for example, and you need a new one, you can log it on your ITSM and collect it from a locker. That's my objective. That's my life with lockers and Ricoh. Yeah, I love it.
That's great. Thank you for telling us a bit more about that. I think initially when you said 10,000 people out in the field,
Yeah,
that's incredible. That's a lot of workers, a lot of people
yeah.
out there sort of servicing and providing support and so on. So that's incredible. Out of curiosity, where did your story begin? Where did your sales journey begin? Into this role.
Yeah, I mean, around 10 years ago, Ricoh sort of pivoted their strategy, really. We had more than the 10,000. I think we had about 16,000 engineers about 10 years ago. And Ricoh's traditionally a print business. Well, it was back then. It's not so much now. It still is, but it's not core to their business, really. Um, and we had all of these people, and our print products were getting better and better, more reliable, which means we didn't need as many service technicians out there. So we had a decision to make, essentially. Do we make mass redundancies and lose lots of people and talent, which would be pretty awful thing to go through for the business, or do we try to retain as much as we could? And it was the latter. So we started on a journey with the services piece. That's where I started getting involved about 9 years ago, for a US-based e-commerce company that we've expanded the locker network with them to about 20,000 plus across seven countries. So I was very much involved with that for about 4 or 5 years, setting that business up, operationalizing it, and the relationship management side of things. And that sort of continued with other customers now. So bringing us up to the sort of 50,000 odd. that we manage now from a services perspective. But then Ricoh, once it had developed its capabilities for the services aspects, then started to move into more of an integrator. So they were still using their services capabilities, but they were working with hardware partners, software partners to bring together an integrated solution. And then that sort of led on the last couple of years of Ricoh developing its own product, and that's where I've been involved to develop the sort of asset management and click and collect solutions on behalf of Ricoh and its own products. So that's the sort of involvement and journey really of the business and how I've been involved throughout.
Wow. And have you always wanted to get into sales, being a business development manager? Like what's been your story? What's kind of led up to this point of your sales sort of
Yeah.
journey?
Yeah, I think over the last couple of years I've sort of found myself more in sales. I started more in service and operations in terms of standing the
Hmm.
businesses up, but there was still an element of sales within that because the discussions were very much expansion focused and I would still be involved with contractual elements and pricing elements. So it was still quite salesy, even though fundamentally it was an operational role. And I found myself very much enjoying the customer and external interactions and being part of that, not shying away from it. I quite enjoyed attending the meetings and just being part of it really in the customer's journey. And throughout that sort of, I guess, 5 years of the operational side, people would often say to me, you should maybe explore something within sales. And once hearing that a few times, I thought, well, maybe I'll give it a crack. And yeah, the last couple of years or so, it was, yeah, getting more into sales and business development. So that's kind of how it ended up, really.
How it ended up. And is
Hmm.
there something that you like about sales? Like the first question to you would be, what do you like about sales? And why do you
Yeah,
like it?
yeah, I think. I like the idea of hearing about the different journeys and strategies that customers are embarking on
Yeah.
and being able to help them more so as opposed to just trying to sell things. I quite like the strategic side of things, sitting down, talking about the long-term gain, how we might be able to sort of shape that. So I guess the more kind of solutionizing of it all and the strategic elements of it and hearing about their journeys more so as opposed to, this is what we're doing.
Mm,
I really like learning about, the journeys that the customers are going on and how we can potentially be part of that.
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Is there something that you don't like and why?
Oh, yeah, I guess I'd be careful with what I say, but I guess the I guess some of the internal challenges that you face, I guess, from within the company, sometimes being a big organization, I think lots of people would probably agree with this, working in corporate environments, it
Mm,
can be quite challenging to align uh, people and certainly when there's, different challenges that the customers are facing that might not necessarily completely align with the internal portfolio or strategy. I guess it's more the kind of influencing and time spent perhaps educating um, people internally. It's necessary and it's needed, but it's uh, it's sometimes a challenge. It's sometimes quite complex. It's time consuming sometimes, but I think it's just part and parcel of like the
a
corporate
large.
bureaucracies that you're going to face. So yeah, I hope I've been politically correct in terms of my
That
answer.
that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of corporate organizations go through what you've just mentioned there. It's that kind of, there's multiple stakeholders in the mix. It's it's quite challenging, like you said, to get everyone aligned, get everyone on board. And there's various different moving parts. So it's yeah, I think it's a challenge for a lot of organizations within a lot of different industries. Um, you mentioned alignment there, which is something that I'm quite sort of an advocate of internally with regards to sales and marketing. What's your thoughts about that, the whole alignment piece between sales and marketing?
I think it's really, really important. Um, Probably within companies that are sort of going through a lot of diversification and
Mm,
change. I think, I think salespeople are very keen and well can be very keen and enthusiastic to get out and sell, which is what they should be doing, absolutely. Perhaps salespeople sometimes get too much into the weeds with the direction and approach that, the go-to-market strategy, perhaps. So I think it's good to have the communication backwards and forwards, but I think for salespeople, you are there to get out and sell
sell.
and be in front of the customers. So I would encourage that as much as possible. But also for people in marketing to be able to relay that strategy and direction in a very clear way. So it stops again that internal kind of
Mm,
discussion. Again, it's good to always get feedback, but I think, give the feedback and iterate and, implement and then let's get running. So yeah, absolutely key to be aligned. But I think, just to have that kind of clear, concise communication, nice and early, between the
yes.
two departments. And, marketing's doing this, sales, you're doing that. Give a bit of feedback, but don't spend too much time on it.
Yeah.
Let's stick in the lanes and get cracking.
Yeah, yeah. And definitely like for example the whole kind of sales enablement piece is quite critical as well, just from a marketing standpoint, just creating that toolkit so that salespeople can go out and sell and do what they need to do and just having that kind of feedback loop. I think that's you've just mentioned it there now. Just giving that feedback, communicating. I think it's yeah, and I think it goes back to the whole alignment piece, for
Mm.
sure. What does a day in the life of Connor look like? You talked about lockers, you talked about this, you talked about that. I know you've got Monday Minute as well. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Mondays, I mean, the week differs, but Mondays I've put together, and you mentioned the sales enablement piece. That come off the back of that really. So the Monday Minute is a minute long video about key topics within the locker industry, sometimes motivational and sort of positive messages as well to share with the audience and just ideas. I think just general business concepts, ideas that I like to put out there and get feedback on. So they're the sort of three elements. But it was spurred on by Ricoh putting together a sales enablement program towards the end of
Brilliant.
last year, which I was really fortunate to join and they invited an external consultant to come in, and we were talking about social selling, and I said, I find video content is a bit more captivating as opposed to, written
Written.
content, for example. And he said, right, next week you have to do a video. And I thought, oh, I was dreading it. I was so nervous. And I said, well, I have to do it now because he's, pulled me to it.
Yeah.
So I did, and then he gave me some feedback, and he said you have to do it again next week, and so on, and I did, and it's a bit easier now. It's not
Yeah.
as daunting as it used to be, but yeah, it's good, and the feedback's been quite nice so far from people. You also have Mike TC out there as well, who's just retired from Ricoh, but
The
he's got
legend.
his legends,
The
absolutely. The
legend.
TC Tuesdays. So he's a big inspiration for me as well. He shares some really positive messages. So if you're ever feeling a bit down in the dumps, watch one of his videos and you'll feel motivated, I'm sure. So that's the Monday Minute piece. But yeah, a normal week is perhaps a few days at home and a few days out visiting our partners, customers, and also within our office in London as well, and sometimes a bit of travel as well abroad and within the UK. So yeah, it's a great varied role. I really enjoy it, and yeah, quite fortunate to be where I am.
Nice. And do you get to go to different events? I'm sure you do. Um,
Yeah.
like give us an example of an event, or if you've been to one recently, like we'd love to hear more about that and what was that experience like for you?
Yeah, there's so last month was a month of events really. We had well I went to three different ones, but I suppose two of them were really fruitful for me. The Leaders in Logistics event, which was bringing together the key players in the parcel and postal industry and the couriers. So I think, that was a fantastic event. Anybody in this space, I would really thoroughly recommend it. You get some keynote speeches, you get some sort of fireside chats, which are, open
Nice.
debates, and yeah, and then there's an open floor with everybody, showcasing their stuff and their solutions, so you can pop around and chat to these guys. And brilliant event. It was at Twickenham. So thoroughly recommend that. I think the next one is the 12th and 13th of March in Berlin next year. So
Nice.
yeah, I hope to be there for that. And anybody in the space, I would recommend. And I was at the Parcel and Postal Expo, which was in Amsterdam. That takes place every year in October. Again, a lot of the locker providers were there, so showcasing their hardware and software solutions. And again, was a brilliant event and would thoroughly recommend that every year.
Brilliant, brilliant. Um, no, that's great. Going back to, what, your role and what you mentioned earlier about what you do in a day to day and things like that. Um, what do you think are the misconceptions do people have about sales? What's been your experience? Yeah, tell us more about that.
I think some of the misconceptions are that within sales, you are just pushing products at them and you don't care so much about, how it's impacting them. You just have a number and you just want to win.
Yeah.
And I think my take on that is it's from my perspective now, it's you always got to get yourself into a win-win with the customer and partner, ultimately partner. So I think I'm seeing a big change from that now. I'm seeing, and even from the customer's perspective, I'm seeing a change in attitude from their side,
Okay.
in terms of, if you're approaching them more as a partner, as opposed to this is my thing, you should buy it. Uh,
Mm,
they are then, more sort of taking to that approach as opposed to the, buy this and sign here. Um, and yeah, I guess it is changing, but I think it is still a bit of a misconception. Even speaking to some customers, sometimes it's you still do get the firm hand in the face sometimes, even when you're trying to be,
yeah.
but it's like
Yes.
your sales go away, because you're trying to sell me something, and it's not.
Mm,
I think we're trying to get away from that. I certainly am to be, and again, to my point earlier, how do we go on that journey with them? How do we understand where their direction is? How can we both win in this
yes.
scenario?
Yeah.
Other than win lose. It's like I win, you lose, and I think there's still that kind of misconception in the industry, really.
Yeah, that makes a definitely resonates and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, how do you stay up to date sort of to what's happening in the market, whether it's the industry that you're in or whether it's just sales in general, perhaps, maybe some soft skills, that kind of thing. How do you stay abreast of the market? Do you do any training? What sites do you look at? That kind of thing.
Yeah, again, I think the industry events, from my perspective, are the best in terms of the from industry specific knowledge.
Mm,
And I also I think for sharpening your skills as well, because I, we're very much in that hybrid kind of world now, and it's quite easy to do your calls at home, and you know I guess you miss that kind of face-to-face interaction quite a lot with customers now.
yes.
So I think the events they're brilliant for the two aspects there, the industry knowledge and also ensuring you remain quite sharp in front of your customers face to face. So there's that aspect. I try to get out as much as possible with the customers at these events. I'll speak to all of them, as many as I can. And I think there's that aspect. There's also, I think LinkedIn is a brilliant tool. I think it's getting better and better
Yeah.
as each week goes by. So again, to keep up to speed on the industry knowledge. But I guess the other angle of that is, and perhaps to my point earlier on the social selling piece, is I think a lot of selling is done on social platforms now as well. So
Mm,
I guess for me, seeing the trends and how people are behaving on LinkedIn is helping me shape my messaging from a kind of remote way as well. So those two elements, I guess, the social piece and the events type stuff, for me is to keep up to speed with things. Other than that, Ricoh also does its own sales enablement programs as well. So I try to get involved with them as much as I can, and attend as many of those workshops and seminars and so on. So they're the three pieces, I guess, to stay up to speed. I'm reading as well. I hate
brilliant.
reading, but I yeah I owe somebody a book back. If Keith, however, watches this, I'm sorry, I've still got your book, but. Um, I'm still trying to get through that, but I'm just a terrible reader. So I'm trying to read just before bedtime. It's
Right.
strategic selling, it's called.
I was gonna say, what's the book? What's the title? What's the author? Yeah, of the
Yeah,
book that you're reading.
it's called strategic selling. I'll share the title with you, but yeah, it's just taking me a long time to get through it. I prefer
It's okay.
Audible. Yeah, I just so that's I'm trying my best. My wife, she'll get through a book every few days, and I've been reading this for
Yes.
about 2 months. So,
Some people are just great at reading books and they just fly through them. Yeah. And
yeah,
then others, yeah, it takes a bit of time.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, a long time.
If a young person wanted to get into sales, what advice would you give them?
I think to, um, I think to just sort of not worry too much because, and as general as that sounds, I think I was very anxious about starting in sales because I think
Mm,
there's sometimes there's a lot of pressure in sales.
mm,
Um, and I think, I'm still relatively young in my sales career as well. Um, I think not to worry. And I think the point there is that the attitudes from customers are changing as well. I've even seen it over the last few years that um, customers aren't as harsh and you know, direct. They still can be, but not as much as when I first started out. And I had some tricky interactions when I first started out that really damaged my confidence. So I
mm.
think my advice would be to, you know, try not to build it up too much in your head, and you know, be mindful that customers are just people in the end of the
Yes, yes,
day,
that's a very
and
good point. Yeah.
yeah, we're just people, and um, try not to put too much pressure on yourself, because I've been in a state before where my confidence was very, very low, and
Mm,
I'd be worried to even speak to customers because I'm thinking that they just don't want to speak to me anymore, and
Mm,
I'm too young as well. I think, there's that kind of worry there that there's a perhaps a stereotype in that if you're speaking to senior people and you're quite young, you'll just get, shunted off, and it's, go away, you're a boy, just kind of leave me alone. So I guess there's always going to be that worry for some people that are young going into sales, especially speaking to senior people. So yeah, my advice would be just, they are just people. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and don't let it knock your confidence, and just keep talking to people, be open, be positive, and listen, listen to what they're saying, and don't push your thing too much. Always lead with your ears, and
yes.
yeah, and go on that journey with them.
That's really great advice. I think that's really great advice for a young person or an experienced professional to kind of take on and yeah, definitely listen and listen to what they're saying. What do they say? It's like an 80-20 rule or something like that. There's something out there that says, listen more than sort of like yeah, speak.
Absolutely.
Work-life balance. How do you create that balance between home and work? You mentioned your wife earlier. Tell us more about that. Work-life balance. How do you,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I play football, um, or soccer for anybody from listening from the US.
In
Don't
the
want to get into
US.
that debate. We could be here for hours. Um,
What
yeah,
position
so
do you play? What position do you play?
I play as an attacking midfield player. So
Okay. Good
yeah,
position, yeah.
I used to be I used to play as a striker, but as you get a bit older, the legs I can't run as fast anymore. So yeah, I maybe train once a week and play on the weekends, and yeah, I go to the gym quite a lot. So I've just started with a personal training program. So it's hard. Again, being in sales, there's a lot going on, and essentially, certainly at the moment, it's a very, very busy time. So I've got my personal trainer that's telling me that I need to go to the gym tonight, and I need to eat this, and I need to eat that, and sort of saying, right, okay. And then I'm looking at my calendar and going, right, okay, how am I going to fit all this in?
Yes.
But you do, it might be a slightly later evening that you're training, which is fine. So that's kind of where I'm at, really. My wife is great. She looks after me and understands that I'm on this little journey at the moment. Um, so yeah, I guess it's spent between her and we have a dog as well, he's a
Ah.
Chihuahua. So
Oh, what's his name?
his name's Pippin, and he's
Pippin.
Pippin. Yeah,
Pippin.
so he's a really cute little thing, but he's got all the typical
Chihuahua.
tenacities.
Chihuahua trait.
Yeah, got the Chihuahua trait, so he keeps us very busy as well. So yeah, split between those three things, really.
Okay. No, good stuff. What did you want to be when you grew up?
That's a great question. There was I didn't expect it. There was there was two things. I think I wanted to start off as a fireman when I was really
Brilliant.
young.
Putting out those fires. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, do that now anyway. Still.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there's a hmm, yeah. So a fireman?
And then I wanted to be the so it's not a weatherman, but it was what was it, a geologist or something like that, isn't it? With the one that predicts when the extreme weathers are coming in. I'm
Yes.
really
Yeah.
weird about the weather, so yeah, I wanted to do all that, and then well, no, I've always wanted to be a footballer, but that dream is a big dream. And
You're
my dad
playing
was
football though, which is yeah.
yeah, yeah, my dad was he's always been keen on football and he brought me up into football really and we still go and watch games together now.
Oh, lovely.
Um yeah, so I think we both had a bit of a dream that I might one day make it. Never know. Might be a late flourish. But
Just out of curiosity, what football games do you go and see? Who do you
um
support?
we're Charlton fans, Charlton Athletic.
Ah, Charlton Athletic. Yeah. London.
Yeah, yeah. So it's very difficult to be honest. They're not very good. It's hard to watch, but we're through and through. So yeah, we go and watch games together every now and then and cheer them on as hard as it is. But yeah, we still get down there together, which is nice.
Die-hard fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because some
Unfortunately.
people, glory hunters, as they call them, where they
Yeah.
switch teams depending upon how well they're doing or whatever. So it's good that you're die-hard fans.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We do enjoy it. We do moan about it a lot, but we do still enjoy it. It's good to spend time together.
Ah, that's wonderful. That's great to hear that you get to spend that time with your dad and
Yeah.
share a love of football. Um, what is your passion in life and what drives you?
I think I think the being able to um get out and I guess be able to it might sound quite straightforward this, but being fit, healthy and able to just get out and I guess drive towards fitness goals. I think they've been very important to me throughout my whole life, really.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so and I think it does sound, we spoke a lot about football actually, but being able to um, play and enjoy myself because I think there's balance in quite important to look at balance in life and for me my work is really important and I like being part of something when there's I can see there's a bit of a journey that we've come on within the company. I think that really motivates me, but also being able to remain healthy, fit and able to get out and do the things that I love doing, which is exercise, football, um, and also spending time with my loved ones as well. So yeah, I guess like yeah, just looking back, I suppose reflecting on those 3 points that I spoke about earlier, they're what really drives me
Nice.
forward, if that makes sense.
Does definitely make sense. And
Yeah.
which brings me to my next thing about, is there somebody that inspires you, whether dead or alive? And that could
Oh,
be someone or some, a group of people or whatever, but is there somebody that inspires you, whether dead or alive?
yeah. I would say so my nan passed away towards the middle of this year, and she was a
Okay.
huge part of my life, and she done a
Mm,
hell of a lot for me, really. Um, so throughout sort of my younger years, all the way through to the last few years or so.
yes.
Um, so yeah, I would say she was quite an inspiration for me, really. So I guess it's like going on to, try and continue making her proud. She always told me that I did, and I
Oh, that's
guess
brilliant.
it's yeah, it's yeah, I would say certainly her. She always remains in my thoughts and a person that I could look to cheer me up, motivate me, inspire
Oh.
me. So yeah, I would say her. Yeah, for
Ah,
sure.
go Nan.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes. Ah.
absolutely.
That's really lovely to hear. And I think, yeah, even though she's passed, she still drives you in what you're doing. Going back to, you mentioned about your loved ones and stuff, you know, yeah, they're always in your hearts and, beside you, kind of, gearing, yeah. rooting for you every step of the way. Um, if you could speak to your younger self, what would you say to them?
I love these questions. I've never had such questions. I've never even thought about such things really. They're brilliant. Um, I think yeah, I guess it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to uh learn. Well, it's more important to learn from them. I guess I've been quite critical on myself in the past.
Mm,
Um, even of late as well. And it's still something that I'm learning not to be so critical of myself, but to learn it to use it as an opportunity to learn
definitely.
and improve. Yeah. So often I would beat myself up about things if I done something wrong and I knew it was wrong, and I would really be down in the dumps and upset with myself about it. But yeah, I guess now it's I'm able to look at that, understand it, learn from it, and try and improve it. So yeah, I guess that's how I would answer that one.
No, that's definitely rest assured. Yeah, it happens to all of us. So you're no stranger to it if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
we all go through that imposter syndrome as they perhaps like to call it. That kind of kicks in and that's a real bugger when it does.
Mm,
Um and I think the worst thing that when imposter syndrome kicks in, the worst thing you could do is silence it. You almost have to have a conversation with it and just make it your best friend, become best friends with it. Um, and it quietens down somewhat. It's not so loud, let's say, when it starts off and it quietens down, but you almost have to be best friends with it, which is key, um, sort of in your day to day. What do you want to be remembered by?
I think somebody that's very positive, um, quite outgoing, easy to get along with. Somebody that's approachable, somebody that's quite caring, um, and trusting. So yeah, I think these are probably traits that I quite um, I would maybe reflect on myself as that. That's how I'd want to be seen. Quite bubbly, cheerful,
Yeah.
easygoing. Um, I could be anybody's friend. I wouldn't want to, I don't think I have enemies, but maybe I do. But I try and keep myself very, very open, and anybody can talk to me, and I'd listen. I want to help people out, really.
Right. Good stuff. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Oh, well, from a professional and personal
Yep.
standpoint.
Yep. Professional and personal. Yep.
Yeah, I think from a professional standpoint, I think the journey that I'm on within Ricoh is brilliant at the moment, and I'm hoping to still be around with Ricoh if they'll still have me um, in 5 years. But to really develop that business, hopefully really get it off the ground. I mean, it's still early days in terms of where we're at. There's some really big things happening,
Mm.
and I think in the next few years they could really take off. Things could come to fruition with our
Exciting
own,
times.
yeah, with our own Ricoh smart locker product. It's still very early days with that. So I think scaling that out in the next few years or so, hopefully by 5 years' time, to really have a great network of those lockers, but also to continue expanding the services business as well, which is a
Mm.
bit more mature. So yeah, I mean, it's still my role is global. It's still very much in EMEA at the moment because that's where it's sort of
That's where it
hubbed.
sits. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's to get that to if I could get that to a global reach within 5 years, and there's some real scale to it, I'd be very, very happy with that. Um, from a personal standpoint. Hopefully, I'm still married within 5 years. I'm coming up to a year now, so
Aye. Good
whether
stuff.
she'll still have me. Perhaps we'll have another dog. She's trying to convince me, but the Chihuahua, as we spoke about the traits, I don't know if he'd accept another one, to be honest. But we're having that debate.
Yes.
Um, Yeah, and maybe having possibly a little family um,
Yeah.
by then would be good, and to be injury free and playing football as regularly as possible, really. Um, I sometimes explain that goal to my wife, and she's like, "It's just football," and I'm like, "Oh, it
Oh,
is, but it means a lot to me." So, yeah, I guess they're the things I'd like. That's where I'd like to be.
nice. I can see it now. Mini Connors running about the pitch.
God,
What more could
yeah.
you ask for?
Oh, don't ask for that. Yeah, nightmare.
Football team.
Yeah, you had to have my own five-a-side team.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. When you go on holiday, what do you like to do?
That's a great question. Um, I like to do a bit of both, really. So I'm quite exploratory, adventurous.
Hmm?
Um, However, my wife she'll prefer to relax a bit more, so I have to compromise.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't mind
makes
that though. I
sense.
don't. Yeah, I can't sit still for too long. So, if I'm
Okay.
sat again, she'll read a book every couple of hours and I'll be sat there reading one page like over and over again, just thinking about what else I could be doing. Um, so yeah, I guess yeah, I prefer to yeah, the exploring side of things and
Go
the
see the
potential.
sights and climb
Yeah,
some rocks somewhere or,
yeah,
you
to
know,
keep busy.
do a trek or something like that.
Something like this, yeah. But I can happily sit on the sunbeds to be
Yeah, by
honest.
the beach or the pool.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Yeah, not at all. We went to Mallorca together in July, just gone, and that was
Nice.
quite. It had a bit of both. So we rented a car and we drove around to
That's brilliant.
see different places, and a lot of them were beaches. So we'd like drive to the beach to go and sit on the beach, but it still meant I could get out and do some driving and see some different spots. So yeah, a bit of both.
Nice. Bit of both. Like
Yeah,
it. Like it.
yeah.
If you had a chance to be a superhero or have superpowers or a superpower, what would what would that be and why?
Wow, they get better these questions, don't they? Um, I guess you would get all the typical ones, wouldn't you? I was gonna say like time travel.
That's good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess you get that one. I was just trying to think if there's something maybe a bit different, but yeah, I guess like time travel to
Back in
change
time
like
or in, forward in time.
yeah, yeah, like to change like past events that were quite bad, I guess, like you know, if possible without getting into it too deep.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, things like that. Maybe yeah, to see the future to like change for the good. Uh,
Yes.
yeah. So yeah, yeah, that's
Time
what I would.
travel.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good one. That's a good
Mm,
one.
mm.
If you had to ask the audience a question, what would that be?
And the audience is
The
sales and
audience is, it can be C-suite, it can be marketing professionals, sales professionals, young people, graduates. There's a real mixed bag. Anyone that's kind of interested to understand more about what it's like to work in sales and marketing, but also about the individuals that work within those roles. And they could be senior, experienced professionals, like I mentioned, or they can be junior um, to
mm.
that.
Maybe if we took it from like a C level economic buyer's perspective. So
Yeah.
these are, from my perspective, these are the people that I like to speak with,
Yes.
because they have the big say so and can veto if they want. What, from their perspective, would they like to see more of from sales professionals? What do they like about it? What should they continue doing? And what should
Yes.
they stop doing?
Nice. That's really, ooh, imagine a whole group of C-suite in the room and you could ask that question to each of them. It'd be interesting to see what the feedback, to see what their
Definitely.
input would be.
Yeah, I'd be really interested.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question.
I'm learning from you.
You've got good questions. Awesome. Do you have any final words you would like to share?
I think for you to keep doing what you're doing,
Thank you.
because this is brilliant. I think I'm a big believer in this kind of engagement and content. I think, podcasting, video content is brilliant. It's very open. I think your approach has been really open, fun, interactive. So I'd say definitely keep with that kind of vibe. And yeah, I'd encourage people to talk with you and others openly about the profession. I think it's been really good for me to sort of open up about some aspects. I think you've, taken us down the professional vibe, but also the personal routes as well. So it's been really really good. Very very. Yeah, I've learned a lot about myself throughout the session actually. So
That's brilliant. That's
yeah,
wonderful to hear.
yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and I'd encourage people to just be very, very open, certainly in the sales world, because yeah, I guess there's a lot of, you know, mental issues around it, sort of, the pressures
Definitely.
that come with it. So to your point earlier with, the imposter syndrome
Syndrome.
and yeah, just getting in your own head about things. I think things like this can certainly help. Speaking with somebody like yourself or any kind of podcast or colleague, somebody
Yeah.
you got a best friend at work, uh,
Yes.
somebody to speak to, just to get it off your chest every now and
Yes.
then. Um, yeah, so just speak out, be open, and embrace it.
That's great. No, I just want to thank you. Thank you for those kind words, firstly. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. And I think yeah, I can see you doing more podcasts. I love your Monday Minute. I really love it. And it's just incredible where you've started off and where and what's become of it. And I love how you yeah, you love creating the content, you're getting those kind of little snippets out there and kind of people can learn from you, not just with creating the content, but also what you cover in those Monday Minute videos. So just keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, don't get in your head so much. Just keep at it. But thank you so much, Connor.
Thank you so much.
Take care and have a great rest of the day.
And you. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.